Hello, fellow Planeswalkers. Welcome to the latest installment of the Lotus Archives. As always, my name is Jack.
What's going on, guys? I'm Kava, and
Uh,
Jack is gonna be headlining this
yeah.
one here.
Today we are going over combos. We are going to be delving deep into the realm of combo strategies and synergies. Kind of just delving deep into what makes the combo deck tick, and really what sets it apart from the other ones, and maybe even a little bit of why some folks get kind of salty when you drop certain combos on the board. Real quick disclaimer though, I have to actually fix an error that I made, so I'll do that first here. In a previous episode, I had said that the Mycaeus and Walking Ballista is a 2-card combo. That is not correct. I have since learned that instead of having those two just on the board to instant win, due to the fact that Walking Ballista already comes in as a 1/1, you have to have a separate sack outlet to make that work.
Dun dun dun. And
Yeah.
here's proof that we may be wrong sometimes.
Yep. Even the guy who plays combos all the time.
Yeah, you suck and combos suck.
Listen, it's an easy. I usually play Triskelion with it, which that's a good segue. So
Yeah.
Triskelion plus Mycaeus is an instant win combo, and here's why. Mycaeus gives things Undying, right? Non-humans gain Undying, is what Mycaeus the Unhollow does. Triskelion has remove a 1/1 counter from it, hit somebody for 1. And Undying brings the creature back from the grave. So Triskelion is a 0/0 base, which is why
Okay.
this works. Because when you remove that last counter from it, he goes to the bin, goes to the graveyard. But he still has Undying because you remove that counter. Since Undying is like as long as it dies without a counter on it, bring it back with that counter.
Huh.
Yep. So
Okay.
with that, it
So
works.
that's definitely interesting. I don't think I've ever
Yes.
personally played that.
I use it in my Dredge Marin deck, where it's
Ah,
just
okay.
fill the graveyard up, and then I recur those two pieces for an instant win.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I
Yes,
still have my Marin deck is or not Marin. I'm it's been a long day for me and I
it
am
has.
thinking other cards.
Not
I
to
do not
worry.
have a Marin deck.
Not to say you play graveyard. I'd love to see that.
Oh, I used to,
It's a
but
fun time. I recommend it. Play more Dredge, people. It's very fun.
yeah, that's one of those things that I got to rebuild a graveyard deck. It's fun messing around with graveyard mechanics.
It can be. So, can segue on from that little clerical error there. Totally resolved. No problems. So more on to combos. What is combos to kind of go into like the meat and potatoes of it, as can basically be uh described from there is any two cards that when they go together, they form this synergy that basically results in an infinite loop of some kind. Right, so that one there, Mycaeus and Triskelion, results in infinite damage. Just a continuous loop, and unless an opponent can interact with it in some way, either kill one of the pieces, then you just win the game on the spot.
Yeah, but not all combos are just straight game winners, are they?
Well, no, I mean, you got your infinite mana combos, you got infinite draw combos, infinite mill. So basically,
Thomas,
yes,
what are you
like,
doing?
so combos essentially just they result in some form of loop that typically will win you the game, or it'll give you so much value that you win the game on the spot.
Okay, so if I mean, you also got other types of combos though that don't necessarily like win you the game automatically or give you infinite mana. You got some combos that I know one particular that I play, and I usually play it in a life gain deck.
Hmm.
Is um anointed or not anointed procession. Wow, I have it up on my computer right now. Uh Crap, you know the combo I'm talking about.
The
I'm drawing a
exquisite blood,
blank.
exquisite blood, sanguine bond combo.
Yes.
Yep. So that is it. Will kill the whole board if you can trigger the right pieces.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, sanguine bond is, let me see, let's say 5 mana enchantment. Now these two cards have they do very similar things. One of them is whenever you gain life, you deal that much damage to an opponent, and the other is when you deal damage to an opponent, you gain that much life. Somewhere in that ballpark, right?
Yeah, it's something similar to that. Essentially, you just keep gaining life and they keep losing life, and it goes on and on and on until someone can stop it. And if you have those two pieces out on the board and you have a commander on the field, or even better, not even has to be on the field, you have a commander like Aloro, you don't even have to have him on the battlefield because he just does that shit right in the command zone.
The exquisite blood is the whenever they lose life, you gain that life. Bond is you gain life, they lose that much life. So just these two on their own, and like you're saying with the Loro, you reach your upkeep with these. His ability triggers, and you just won the game.
Oh, exactly. And Aloro tends to be one of those. Ugh. My dog decided to come into the office and try and sneak and grab a card that was on my desk.
It's all right. We love a little puppy interruption. Not a problem.
Oh, he was trying to slyly reach his little snout up onto my desk because I have a couple cards sitting on my desk. But with Aloro, he is one of those commanders, like we've talked about before.
Yep.
He is the true first instance of eminence.
Yes. Such a
But it
great
wasn't called
ability.
eminence. Oh,
Right.
it really was.
Proto eminence. They're kind of dipping their toes in the water. Like, is this good? Should we do more of this? And then they
Oh,
did, and it became
exactly.
broken.
Yeah, and then we've only seen it one other time in a recent set, and it wasn't that good, in my opinion.
Not really. No.
So, back on track here.
Yep.
What type of commander would you say benefits from playing just a bunch of combos?
So like, okay, yeah. So commanders that kind of encompass that strategy, right? Because like there are several commanders that you wouldn't typically see piloting a combo deck. Like there's just some like dragons or some stuff like that. Where like the big Timmy style decks, like the big beaters, they don't typically run that. So the ones that I
See,
use,
you say that, and now you're gonna force me to try and figure out how to make dinosaurs a fucking combo
you
deck.
could put an infinite mana combo in there and just go to town.
No, I want to make it like a full on fucking combo deck and just have it be dinosaurs.
You can. You just use those colors. You make all the artifact combos. But
Oh
so
man, that could be mean. Okay, back on track.
yeah. Well, because like that's the things. Like there are like some decks like that. Like I think we mentioned with like our aggro stuff. Like elf decks can run infinite mana combos, but
Yep.
this is more focused on like what is their win. Like these decks, these commanders, their win con is pulling off a big splashy combo. And the best
Okay.
example I can think of for that I personally play is Brea Ethereum Sculptor.
Yeah.
Who is, so for those who don't know, she is a white, blue, black, red. So 4 colors. She's from that 4 color pre-con cycle we had several years ago. Legendary artifact creature human. When Brea Ethereum Shapter enters the battlefield, create 2/1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying. That's a big part right there. ETB, make 2 Thopter artifacts. Big part there. Then she has pay 2 colorless, sacrifice 2 artifacts, choose one of the following. Deal 3 damage
Oof.
to a player. Target creature gets -4/-4, or gain 5 life. So Brea is very jack of all trades, hits a lot of stuff. Does very cool things. Very combo heavy. There's a lot of potential there to just fly off the rails with this.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yep.
Now, like, what sort of combo would you put in there?
So
Like,
her main combo pieces, like the ones that I usually go for, one of them is interchangeable. The list I found here, they use Ashnod's Altar, which
okay,
is that
yep,
3 mana sack a creature, make 2 colorless. I use the Cart Clan Ironworks,
okay,
which is the same thing, except instead of creature, it's artifact. But since a lot of my stuff are already artifacts, doesn't really matter. The effect is the same, so you can swap those two out. If you have one but don't have the other, very interchangeable. But the other key piece is Nim Deathmantle. This is a 2 mana equipment that gives the equipped creature +2/+2, intimidate, and it makes it a zombie. That part's not really important. The important part is the second ability, that whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you can pay 4. If you do, return it to the battlefield and attach the Nim Deathmantle to it.
ooh,
So the synergy here, right? Remember, when Brea comes in, she makes those 2 Thopters, right?
yeah,
Now you'll need Brea, Nim Deathmantle, and the Altar, or KCI, which is Card Clan Ironworks. You just call it KCI,
yep,
and those 2 Thopters, right? Once you have all those, you sacrifice the extra creatures to the Altar or KCI. You make 4 colorless. You then sacrifice Brea to that same Ashnod's Altar, gives you 8. Use the Nim Deathmantle trigger, bring back Brea, do the whole thing all over again. She'll make 2 more Thopters. You still got that 2 colorless floating, and you just keep doing this over and over and over and over again.
ooh,
It doesn't net you infinite mana. What it does do is give you infinite uses of Brea's ability.
huh,
So you just keep doing this over and over and over again.
interesting. Now, what happens if someone just combos off, but they don't win the game with it? Is there any
Well,
instance where like the game just ends in a tie because no one can do anything because the combo just keeps happening?
there, there
I
is.
I mean I have one right off the top of my head. It's a newer one, but I just haven't happened to see it right on my screen, and I'm sitting here chuckling
Oh, I
because I'm
mean,
like, yeah, that would fucking piss me off.
is it World Gorger Dragon?
Nope. Uh,
Okay, because
it's a
that's an
four.
old combo. What's the one you're talking
Yeah, it's March of the Machines, Crowded Crypt, and Eloise Nephalia Sleuth.
about? Okay, what does that
It's
do?
so essentially you have to have all the cards on the battlefield with Crowded Crypt untapped. Now,
Okay.
Crowded Crypt is 2 and a black artifact, tap and add black. Whenever a creature you control dies, put a corpse counter on Crowded Crypt.
Mm-hmm.
And once all the cards are on there, you sacrifice a creature to trigger Eloise's ability, creating a clue token. Because of the effect of March of the Machines, the token will be a 0/0 creature and will die.
Right.
Because a creature you control died, now you put a counter on Crowded Crypt. Now Eloise will create another clue token, which, like the first one, will now be a 0/0 creature and will die. And you can repeat this as many times as you want until you
Okay.
stop the loop.
So
And
that's so there is a way to stop that on your own, though, right? You can.
yes,
Okay.
yes, you can sacrifice Crowded Crypt.
So that's different than the one that I was thinking of.
Yeah.
You have control over that one. The one that came to my mind is an old school combo, which does just end the game in a draw, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. It is World Gorger Dragon plus Animate Dead.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, World Gorger
Yep.
Dragon is this big red dragon. I think he's like 6 mana, something something. Doesn't really matter what his stats are, because what he does is when he comes into play, exiles everything. right? He exiles every other permanent on the board except for himself. Which then, the idea with this is that you play Animate Dead, which is it's a 1 of black enchantment aura that basically lets you target a creature in the graveyard, bring it back into play with that enchantment on it.
Okay.
So the World Gorger Dragon comes into play, exiles everything, including the Animate Dead. Now, when World Gorger Dragon then would leave the battlefield, because the enchantment's gone, everything that it had exiled comes back, including the Animate Dead, which then reanimates the World Gorger Dragon.
Ah,
And this just keeps happening over and over and over again. And
yeah.
there are ways where people can, because typically if you don't have a way to spend, because you can make infinite mana with this, in a sense, like all your lands come back, you tap them, they come back, you tap them again. You do have a brief moment to respond to the effect of World Gorger Dragon to do something to end the
Okay.
game. But 9 times out of 10, whenever I've seen this, it's a gimmick combo. It's where somebody's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna do this once with a new play group just to be funny, and
Yeah,
it's
just like
just gonna
fuck with
end."
them.
Because like, unless somebody can stop it in some crazy way, which there's a very small window that you have to respond to the triggers to actually cause this to not happen, the game just ends in a draw. Like it just, I've had it done to myself. I've also done it. It just ends. It just ends the game. Nobody does anything. We scoop up. We go to game 2 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I could see if like you're just starting out playing with a group and you're trying to get a feel for them. That something like that could be funny as hell.
It can. It can
Um,
also leave a bad taste in somebody's mouth too if they're brand new and you don't tell them about this and just drop it on them out of nowhere. Because you can do this turn 2.
oh
You know,
yeah,
you can play a Entomb, which is just a black. I think it's an instant too. It's an instant speed black mana. Put a creature in your yard, and then turn 2 animate dead it, and then turn 2 now everything's just going away. And at that point, there's such little resources on the board. It just draws the game because there's probably no other target for animate dead, so it has to get the World Gorger Dragon, and then it just ends the game.
yeah. I mean, we're talking about combo cards
Yep.
and all that fun shit. What would you say is your favorite combo? Like,
Oh
what is a
boy.
combo that you put in almost any deck that you can?
Uh See, I've had to actually try to refrain myself from putting combos in every deck, as I'm sure you're well aware. In one of my other Discord chats, they do refer to me as Johnny Combo Player
Oh, without a
because
doubt.
that is what I'm best known for. You know, there was a deck I played ages ago, which is so. I don't say I put combos in every one of my decks anymore, but I will tell you the combo that got me that moniker. So when I first started playing EDH, I played an Azami Lady of Scrolls deck, right? So Azami she's a 2 colorless, 3 blue human wizard that simply says tap an untapped wizard, draw a card. So this was a mono blue counterspell wizard tribal deck that just drew the entire deck, right? And there's an enchantment that when paired with Azami just kind of wins you the game. Well, it lets you draw your entire deck, right? So it's mind
Yep.
over matter, which is simply discard a card, untap target creature, artifact, or whatever. So you play mind over matter, you have Azami, discard a card, untap Azami, tap Azami, draw a card. Keep doing that until you draw. Well, nowadays we have Thassa's Oracle,
Yep.
which if you play it, you just win the game for having no cards in your deck. Back when I played this deck, though, almost 10 years ago now. Ugh. Okay, yeah, it was like 10 years ago. That feels like a disgusting long time, but yeah, so over a decade ago, we only had Laboratory Maniac, which
Yep.
was a 2 mana blue, 3 drop, and but he didn't have an ETB effect, he didn't have it enter the battlefield. He had, if you would draw a card while there are no cards in your deck, you win the game. And at the time, he was the only effect for that. We didn't have the Jace guy that does it now. We didn't have Thassa's Oracle that does it. It was Laboratory Maniac or Bust.
Yep. I mean, I remember. I think when I was first one of the first decks that I made myself, my Lazav deck that I made there, which I am going to be remaking, and my whole point of the deck was to put cards into my graveyard
Yep.
so that I could turn Lazav into them.
Yep.
And I had that card in that deck because God forbid I accidentally frickin' ran out of cards.
Yeah.
I
No, it
wanted to
was
make
very
sure I could
good.
still win. But
Was very, very
that's
good.
that's definitely a fun combo for sure.
It was
I
my,
know for
like, I
me,
want to win.
yeah. I remember for me, I mean, I usually don't play too many infinite combos
Right.
because I'm not a fan of them.
Okay.
But I'd rather I'm more of the old school uh EDH type of vibe where I just want to play my cards that I couldn't play in other formats. The traditional EDH culture.
Right.
So a lot of the infinite combos I'm not a huge fan of. Because to me, that's screaming more legacy, standard, all that. And I don't feel like playing competitive EDH. But
That's very fair.
I I will say I do appreciate a combo as long as it is a win con combo. Um, as long as you're gonna do something with it, I don't care if it's in your deck. But let me know that you have it in your deck before we sit down and play, because I'm not gonna play a deck that is I'm just testing it out against a deck that's finely tuned combo heavy deck that
Right.
I know I have no shot of winning against.
That's actually a
Um,
very good point. I did a poll yesterday in my Discord with my main play group about, because we got that rule zero conversation, right? That we, as like casual kitchen table commander players, we do that little chat in the beginning where we go over our deck types and stuff, right? Like I'm sure you've done that
oh,
before.
without a doubt.
Yeah, so I did this poll where I asked them if somebody goes to that table with a combo deck, should they be required to not only say, "Hey, I have a combo as my win con," should they list the pieces of that combo?
In in my mind, with that question, as a player, if I'm sitting at a table, if someone tells me, "Hey, I have an infinite combo that is my win con," to me, that's all I want to know. That's all I care about knowing.
Right.
But if you're going to a brand new deck or a brand new group that you've never played with before, I think it's a little bit more important to elaborate. Like, if me and Jack sit down and play a game, I know the type of combo he's gonna be throwing out there for the
Right.
most part.
Like you play with your regular
Like,
group, they've seen your cards, they know your decks.
exactly.
There's no
And they know your
surprise.
tendencies.
Right.
But if someone comes out and pulls out a combo that I've never even heard of before or I've never seen,
Hmm.
and it just starts taking up way too much time of the game, and it ends up turning into, okay, I'm just gonna watch them play
Right.
and not even have a turn. And I mean, this might be hypocritical because I'm a fucking stacks player, but
I mean, we'll get to that
it,
when we get to it.
but it's one of those things where, for me, as long as there is a clear and defined ending to the
Hmm.
combo,
Yep.
go for it. Just give me a heads up. Hey, I have a combo in this, a couple infinite combos in this deck. That's all I care about. Now, what did your main play group really
So
say about that?
that was actually the main consensus. Actually, there was your point exactly. Was for newer players, and I did this when I went to Saratoga Comic Con. Actually, I brought my Prosper deck,
Oh, I
which
remember you did.
yeah. So I brought that with me there to the most recent one. Um, and I told them, so my Prosper deck has its crazy 6 card combo that I actually invented or discovered, whatever you want to call it. Nobody else uses it. I've checked EDH Rec. I've checked everywhere else. As far as I can tell, no other deck list plays what I play. which is hilarious to me. But I let the table know, hey, just so you guys are aware, I have this combo in here. I told them a couple of the pieces, like Alter the Brood is a piece. I told them about Marionette
Yep.
Master, but I didn't tell them the exact specifics of it because with that one in particular, it's one that because I discovered it, I'm quite proud of, and I love the look on people's faces when I do pull it off
Oh,
because it's
exactly.
such a janky combo that needs like 6 pieces to work. It's like if you assemble Exodia, right? Like
Oh, it,
trying to assemble this combo in my Prosper deck is like getting a Exodia. Exodia, it's insane.
yeah. I mean, like you just elaborated on.
Yep.
In my opinion, if I'm sitting down at a table at a Comic Con, at a Commander event, if someone came down, sat down, told me exactly what you just said, okay, no problem. You have a couple infinite combos. I'm not going to play a precon.
Right,
I'm
you'll
going to
know
play
what to
something a
play.
little bit more powerful.
Exactly.
And that just goes along the lines of power level too, which we will get into. But so
Yep.
I'm sitting here and you're talking about your favorite combo. Well,
It's got to be the one I play in
being
Prosper. It's so good.
oh yeah. I mean, being that I'm not that much of a combo player, there is one infinite combo that I have in two of my decks.
Hmm.
And I think Jack, you know which one I'm talking about because
I have a
I
few
have it
ideas.
in I have it in my Reaper King deck,
Hmm.
and I also have it in my Airtie deck.
Now, to be fair, we haven't
And
played in a while, so I don't have your deck list
yeah,
memorized.
yeah. So this card, the first time I'll just set the scene here
Hmm.
because the story is funny as hell. And so I was at a local game store uh playing here, and it was my first time at this store, and I told the person or a couple people I was playing with
Yep.
that I do have an infinite combo. It is a win con, and it will win the game in this deck. And they're like, okay, yeah, whatever. We're playing our good decks. Okay,
All right. There
cool.
you go. Yeah.
And this was my Urtai deck. And of course, I don't go into specifics and tell them, oh, my Urtai deck is a stack.
Right. Yeah. I
Because
don't think you should, have to go into that much detail.
why, yeah, why the hell would I?
Right.
They're sitting there thinking they're going to be playing against zombie tribal.
Exactly.
And on turn three, oh, no. So turn one, obviously, basic land, soul ring, yada, yada, yada. I'm off to a hot start. Turn two, I drew a probably one of my favorite cards, the Almighty Painter's Servant. For
Ah,
those that don't know,
so good.
Painter's Servant is a 2-drop colorless artifact creature scarecrow for a 1/3. And his text reads, as Painter's Servant comes into play, choose a color. All cards that aren't in play, spells, and permanents are the chosen color in addition to their other colors. Well, in my opening hand, I happen to have Grindstone. So, needless to say,
It's so good.
I played Painter's Servant,
Yep.
and no one did anything to me.
Nope.
And mind you, this was the first fucking creature I had on the board.
That's insane.
And yeah. And that very next turn, I played Grindstone. And people are still not realizing what I'm doing.
That's very strange to me
And
that they wouldn't know.
yeah, well, the other two guys I was playing at were being a lot more aggressive than I was.
Oh, okay.
So I was not the threat at that time. And this was literally right when Painter Servant was unbanned. So
Okay,
it
so
was just,
most of the
this was like the
players.
day after.
Right.
Yeah. This was like the day after Painter Servant became unbanned. And all of these guys were my age or younger. And at the time, I want to say I was like 25 or 26.
Okay.
So they weren't around or they weren't playing when this card this combo was popular.
I saw it a lot in Legacy. There was a
Yeah.
very it still is. The Painter deck in Legacy is a huge deck to play up against. I played against so many of them. It was burned into my
Oh yeah.
retinas.
But it was fucking funny as hell because that very next turn, I immediately killed off one player. And they looked at me and they're like, holy shit, how's that legal? How's that legal? That's not a real card. That's not a real card. And of course, you have to call over the store manager.
Yeah.
And the guy looked at me, and he was an older gentleman, or older guy.
Oh,
And
so
I've
he
known him for
knows.
quite a while. Oh, yeah. I knew him for quite a while because he was probably in his 40s at the time.
Hmm.
And I mean, I've been playing at that shop for probably, God, going on 10 years now at that time. And I was playing since I was like 21 there. So I was there. I was a regular customer and I was a regular player there at the time on Sundays. And he looked at the guys. He's like, nope, both of these are real cards.
Yep.
And needless to say, I was killed shortly after
I can only
because
imagine.
I literally had none of my other or none of my other pieces even close to being ready, considering I had Painter Servant and Grindstone, and I killed someone by turn 3.
Yeah. So what is
So
explain that combo for our viewers there? What's that? How does that
so
combo work?
oh god. So Painter Servant, like I already said, what it does, you choose a color. All cards are now that color plus their additional color.
Yep.
So Grindstone, it's a 1-drop artifact, and you could tap 3 and tap the card, and it reads: put the top 2 cards of target player's library into that player's graveyard. If both cards share at least one color, repeat this process. So essentially, Painter Servant creates a condition where all the cards in the entire deck and all cards everywhere share at least one color.
Including lands.
So, including
That's
lands.
the key part there, is that when it said permanents, it
Yes.
didn't say non-land permanents, did it?
Oh, exactly. Nope.
So
It's
lands got colors,
all
baby.
cards. Yeah, it is all cards.
I could hear people screaming already, like, well, wait, lands don't have colors. But for Painter Servant, they do
No,
now.
sir. So now that all those cards share a same color,
Yep.
for 3 mana, I could fucking mill an entire opponent.
Yep. Whole library. Whole library
Oh
into
my
the bin.
god.
Into the graveyard. Let's go.
And let's go. I win the game. Goodbye.
Oh, you kill at least
But
one person for sure.
yeah. But needless to say, nowadays I don't try and pull off that combo on turn 3.
It's definitely one that people
Um
will see coming, especially more
Nowadays they
experienced
will.
players, like people that
Yeah.
know, excuse me, the combo and they've seen it before and they know it. They'll see it coming a mile
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. I mean, I was lucky enough that I bought a Painter Servant while it was still a fucking bulk bin rare. I bought it for less than a fucking dollar. Now that card's like $51.
Yeah, it's always gonna keep going up. It's never gonna stay down.
Oh yeah, and I highly doubt they will ever reprint that card. I'll be shocked if they do. But so,
So good.
oh my god, yeah. I mean, I do play a little bit of infinite combos. Um, I try not to, but sometimes combos are just too much fucking fun.
They can be. They can take a long time too. There is more than one type of. So I know we've talked about like artifact combos, 2-card combos, where you put these 2 cards together on the field and they just win you the game. But there are combos where it's more of like a combination of spells you play in a certain order. Prime example being Storm.
Yep.
So a commander like that would be the ever wonderful Mizzix, right?
Oh
Who's
god.
the Izzet commander that, and she's one of the
Oh
top
shit.
10 here.
Is that she had her own precon
Yep.
couple years,
So yeah,
well, a couple years
Mizzix.
back. God, it was like 10 years ago now.
Yeah, she's the Izzet commander of the experience counters, right? And so here's where they went
Oh
really
god,
crazy with
yes.
experience counters. So she's 2 blue and a red, so 4 mana for a legendary creature, Goblin Wizard. And she's running around on this really cool, like, spider thingy. It's wicked. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost greater than the number of experience counters you have, you get an experience counter. So this was like a thing they introduced in this precon cycle where they act as like outside the game counters that you just always have. You can't interact with them in any way. There's no way for a player to remove them. You just always have them. And they just
Okay.
keep going up. So, you cast a 1-drop instant or sorcerer like Brainstorm or some, crazy draw card spell, cantrip, whatever, you get an experience. It just keeps going up and up. Her second ability is where this gets really bonkers. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each experience counter you have.
Oh God.
So this is where we get into the Storm mechanics, where Storm is basically a mechanic on instants and sorceries where you copy the spell that has Storm equal to the number of spells you've played that turn, including the spell that has Storm. Best example is Empty the Warrens. It's a card I played back in Legacy and when I played this commander as well. Basically, it's a 4 mana red spell. You make 2 1/1 red goblins. Doesn't sound too bad, but it has
No,
Storm.
not at all.
Yeah, but it's got Storm, right? So you play, say, like 4 other spells plus the Empty the Warrens. That's 5. You copy the spell 5 times. You now make 10 goblins in 1 turn,
Oh
which
God.
that can just
Yep.
get absurd. But with her in specific, her cost reduction, I believe it affects all types of casting things.
Uh, I believe it's just instants and sorceries.
Yeah, just
We're
instant
still talking
sorcery.
about Mythics, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost greater than the number of experience counters you have, you get an experience counter. And they cost 1 less to cast for each experience counter you have.
Yep. So a lot of people use a card like Reiterate, which is 1 and 2 red, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You choose new targets for the copy, but that card has buyback.
Mm-hmm.
So her cost reduction effect works with buyback. It reduces that cost as well.
Okay.
So if you've cast buyback, or you've cast another spell like Desperate Ritual or whatever, on cast, you get that experience counter. So it gives you a window. We have a thing in Magic and stuff like that, which was more precedent in like Legacy and like higher tier stuff. You don't see it too much in like casual formats. People don't usually go with this route, but there's a thing where you can do called hold priority,
Okay.
where
Yep.
you maintain the ability to respond to your own spell before somebody else does. Because as you cast a spell, your opponents then get what we call priority, right? They get the chance to respond to the spell you have on the stack.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, but in Legacy and all the stuff I learned, you have, as the player casting the spell, you can hold that priority, maintain it yourself for a brief second to respond to your own spell. So in this case, play something like Desperate Ritual, the 2 mana ritual gives you 3 red mana to your pool. Play Reiterate for 2, copying that spell, and you bought back the Reiterate. You net 1 mana, cast it again, keep doing it, making infinite red mana and bumping up your storm count.
Okay.
It's insane. It's a thing where it can take. The issue with storm decks is they can take a long time to pop off because they're casting so many spells in a single instance, and this is something I've done because I used to play a lot of storm decks in the past. Right, I'm sure in one of our previous episodes I mentioned how I played High Tide and crazy shit like that, and those were considered combo
Oh, without a doubt.
decks. Yeah, those were combo decks in the past. And High Tide especially is like I'm sitting there, you're taking 20-minute turn, casting all these spells, and it's a gamble because like with those types of things, you're trying to draw your deck, you're trying to keep finding the pieces to keep going to like fuel that fire, and if you don't, you just wasted a bunch of resources and sat there and got nowhere. So it's you don't see it too often in Commander, which I think is the reason for that.
Okay, so we were talking about Storm a little bit,
It's a nightmare. I don't
and
recommend it.
well, because Storm, like the theme of a Storm deck, it kind of is the stereotypical almost combo style deck. Would I be wrong in saying that?
It's something like that. I mean, in Commander, we have like the Spellslinger deck, like just with Outlaws of the Thunder Junction. We got that. Is it Spellslinger deck, right?
Yep. Are we talking about Stella Lee wild card there?
Yeah, yep. That
Yep.
it's so
She looks pretty solid.
she's a
I'm
lot of
looking at her
fun.
right now.
A buddy of mine
Looking at her right now, I'm like,
played
huh.
that against me a couple days ago, and he won. He kicked my butt with it. I was playing the new Outlaw deck. He played that. We had another guy playing the Gonti deck. I took out the Gonti player, and then I died to Niv Mizzet Peyrune draw card ping,
Oh,
which like he was able to play a bunch of stuff that copied spell effects, and he was just able to draw like 19 cards in a turn.
oof.
Which like that's kind of what the Izzet deck does these days. Is they can take long turns, but they have cards in these decks now that really solidify the win, which I think helps not leave such a bad taste in people's mouths. Because I know, like we were saying, you're playing a combo deck like that, you're taking a long time, you're spinning your wheels in the mud. It doesn't feel good for us at the table to just sit there and watch you do it, you know?
No, not at all. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at Stella Lee wild card. Now she was the face commander for is it precon, right?
Yep. Yeah, yeah, she
I
is.
mean,
Yep.
like I'm sitting here looking at her, I'm like, all right, one blue red for a 2/4. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, that's good stats.
Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, exile the top card of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play that card. And then you tap her. You copy target instant or sorcery spell you control, and you can choose new targets for it.
Yeah,
But
it's
you
really
can
good.
only activate it if you've cast 3 or more spells this turn.
Right.
So I
So
mean,
yeah, she's the explosive part of that. Yeah.
yeah, like Storm to me has always been interesting. It's one of those decks that I've never really had the opportunity to play. I mean, I think down the road I'll definitely end up building a Storm deck. It's just a matter of finding a commander that really speaks to me and I like their artwork.
It's a lot of
um
fun. The one that I've been trying to like I've been brewing in the back of my mind and I have like notes and stuff for is the one from Strixhaven, Veyron.
okay, yep.
She's I think the same one red and a blue and she has that magecraft effect where it's like when you cast or copy an instant or sorcery do X effect.
Okay, yeah.
That came from the Strixhaven stuff.
Yep,
And
yep.
then her other ability is you double those triggers.
Oh god.
Basically, her thing is if you casting an instant or sorcery causes a triggered ability to happen, you double.
Okay.
So that's how my buddy killed me the other night. Was he had her out and she was doubling the effects of the other cards that were like, oh, you cast a spell, draw a card. So he was drawing 2 cards every time, and he had a copy of that, which made him draw 3 cards. So every time he cast a spell, he drew 3.
Yeah, that's insane.
It on top of the actual spell's effect itself, which was it
Yeah.
gets
I
nutty
mean, I
really
know
quick.
yeah. Like I know for me in particular, I'm trying to Jack will tell you,
Mm.
90% of my decks that I play a lot, it's all in fucking either Demir
Yep,
or it's I play a lot of fucking Demir.
it's a
Let's
color
be
combo. It's
honest.
it's a great color combination.
I mean, I play a lot of Demir and a lot of Esper. And I'm trying to get myself away from that. And I know when I first started playing, I played a lot of Golgari.
It's
And
fantastic.
oh, I love my Golgari stuff. And but I'm trying to branch out a little bit because a lot of my decks do very similar things so that I have built myself. And to me, why should I have three decks that all do essentially the same exact thing? Like, yeah, I got my dinosaurs and I got my dragons. Two completely different decks. Play styles are very similar. Not saying I'm going to get rid of either, but I want to try and branch out a little bit. Like, there's so many different styles of decks that I just don't play that it's mostly because I've never really attempted to build it. But especially now that more and more stuff is being printed for Commander, you're getting so many different styles of decks that are now becoming viable in Commander. It's insane.
Oh yeah, it's becoming more and more broad, which is fantastic. We love seeing new play styles and the different stuff that comes out of that.
I mean, yeah, you got your obvious artifact, treasure, plus one get counter decks and
Yeah,
all that shit, but you're starting to see more decks that you're like, oh, landfall is even it's bigger than ever. You got vehicles that are a lot bigger now ever since the last Kamigawa
yeah.
set.
I love my short guy deck. It's so good.
I mean, it's one of those things as a commander player, the past few years have been amazing. Not only because we're getting a shit ton of commander products, but these cards that are coming out and just the sheer volume of people that are playing this format now. I mean,
Yeah.
Christ, you could fucking go online now and play fucking Commander right at your home. You don't even have to leave your goddamn desk. And all you have to have is a camera facing your board and you can play with your actual decks. Like, to me, that's amazing. I would have never thought of having to do that 10 years ago. I mean, Christ, 10 years ago, I think I was still using a old school website called Cockatrice
Oh
just to
yeah, I
fucking
remember cockatrice.
just to be able to play Commander with my buddies when we couldn't get together.
Yeah, it was
Which
wild
Cockatrice
times.
was a yeah, that was a great website.
Oh yeah, it still works today. I think. I think some people still
Yeah,
use it.
I don't use it as much anymore, just because
No.
a lot of my buddies don't.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to find people you trust when you're trying to build decks.
Right.
But those early days, I was building all my decks on there before I even put them together in paper.
Well, that's one of the best ways
Because
to play test. You know,
yeah,
is you can just throw that together, see if you like it. Like if you were looking to try out some of these combos, you can go online to like MTGO. You know, like Magic the Gathering Online is like their main staple now. I think it kind of killed cockatrice.
yeah. I mean,
But that costs money though.
unfortunately, yeah. I was just gonna say, unfortunately, a site like Cockatrice, it's free. All you
Yeah.
got to do is download it. I mean, you got sites like Arena, Magic Arena,
And they don't have Commander
online.
though. They got like that Brawl or Historic
They
nonsense.
do have. When I do go on to Arena, I will play Historic Brawl.
Yeah, which is basically Commander, but it's not. You don't have that 40 life total,
Yeah,
which is their only
it's command.
difference.
Yeah, it's 1v1 commander is essentially what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there's a little bit different rules. You can use any planeswalker you want as your commander, yada yada
Which
yada.
nobody does.
But
I've never
no,
seen anybody do that. Maybe
no, I don't think
Tasha.
I've seen us. Yeah, but like I know for me personally, I've been going on there, and that's what I use to test out. Okay, do I like this play style? Okay, do I like this commander? Do I think this could actually work? Because the last thing I like doing personally is going on to EDH Rec and searching commanders, top commanders.
Yep.
I try not to have any commanders in that first couple of rows. I mean, granted, I have an Atraxa, I have a Miram, I have an Edgar Markov, but I like trying to think of commanders that are a little bit more out of the box. Um, which you've known. I mean, Christ, my Ertai, I don't even think he's on this in the top 100, which is nice. Not a lot of people know him. But
Yeah,
for
no,
me
it's
personally, I always
definitely.
try and stay clear from what's in the top 100 because I like building stuff that's different from everybody else.
Yeah, you want to be kind of out there and different. That's why, like, rolling back to combos and stuff. That's why I haven't changed my Prosper deck in, however long it's been out, because I want to
Oh,
keep
exactly.
its Like, are there better cards I could run instead of my jank ass combo? Absolutely. Will I change it out? Hell no. That deck is so
Yeah,
much fun.
yeah. I mean, I'm looking right here, and I'm trying to figure out like, if I was to play a combo deck, who I would want to be my commander. And there is a shit ton of
Oh, there's a
options.
lot of options, yeah.
But I mean, I could go something as simple as like the Gitrog monster.
Gitrog
But
is pretty good. That's a different type of combo. I mean, with Gitrog, you can
a
run that My Chaos combo if you want to just
oh
an instant
yes.
two card, hey, I just won the game. Like, have an I win
I mean,
button if you want to do that
yeah.
route.
I mean, like looking at a lot of this stuff, I'm like, if I want to go combo, ideally I'm either going Simic or I'm going Is It. If I'm going two color deck.
Yep.
I mean, I could go a Thrasios Titan Hero style deck, but I feel like everybody that plays combo, I mean, that's one of the most popular ones. Either Thrasios and Timna or Thrasios and Vile Smasher.
Yeah. The one I haven't seen
I
that
mean,
often is Prosh, the Sky Raider of Kerr or Care.
yeah,
Haven't seen Prosh in a while, which is very interesting. That can just show you like kind of like the weird power creep that we can see in like combo styled commanders. Because I remember maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, Prosh was it. Like you saw Prosh, that was the end. Like you had to kill that guy immediately. Whoever had Prosh out,
dude,
instant target. Didn't matter who else was on the board.
I remember I bought, I want to say it was Commander Anthology 1.
Yep.
And it had Prosh, it had, shit, who else had it? Atraxa, it had, I want to say Marin of Clan Nelta.
That makes sense.
And there was one other one that I had in there. It might have been shit. What's the guy's name? Not Obnath. He was a fucking he looked like a fucking big jelly dude. But
Big jelly
I'm
dude.
drawing a blank here.
Oh, the Mimeoplasm?
Yes, him.
I love that guy. He's the one that he's the Sultai guy that you exile two creatures and he gets their effects.
Yes,
Love
exactly.
the Mimeoplasm.
But I remember I got the first Commander anthology specifically because I wanted Prosh.
Yeah.
Because let's see, that came out in 2015. I'm looking at it right
So yeah, a
here.
while ago.
Yeah, or no. So Commander Anthology 1,
Mm-hmm.
which I ended up getting both of them because the first one came out right as I was just starting to play. And the first one, let's see, it had Heavily Inferno,
Yep.
which is Kalia the Vast.
Love that one. That one's so good. She's a good
Which
tribal commander.
it's oh my god, yeah. And then it had Evasive Maneuvers from Commander 13,
Yep.
which Derevi, frickin' stacks Warlord.
Yeah, I had that one.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think one of the first decks you helped me build was building up my Derevi deck.
Yep.
And that was my first foray into stacks. But then I had a deck from Commander 14, Guided by Nature. That was Freyalise Lanoir's Fury, which I wasn't a big fan of that one. I'll be honest, I probably played that deck once. But then I had Plunder the Graves, which it's Marin. But when Commander Anthology 2 came out, that one, I think I literally bought that like right away.
Yeah,
And
that was a good one.
that one had Minimeoplasm, Duretti Scrap Savant, Calamity, and Atraxa. So maybe I'm wrong about Prosh. I think I ended up finding his precon for real cheap. But Prosh, he's I remember the first time I pulled him out and I'm like, the whole table just started attacking me. And I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing. This is a precon.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first time I'm playing this deck. And of
Also,
course, everyone else pulled out precons too.
right.
And I was
Well,
the first one killed.
Precons back then were not like precons today.
Oh God, no. Precons back then were freaking pretty much they just threw a bunch of cards together
Yeah,
and said, "Yep, this is gonna work." And Christ, now we're getting pretty much precons that can compete with top end decks. But
yeah, it's pretty crazy. But so to take back to Prush why he's so good for combos, he was one of these big dragons, right? That when you cast him, you get X 0/1 kobolds, where X was the amount of mana you spent to cast Prosh. Which, as a
yep.
commander, they add that commander tax to him, right?
Oh yes.
So, and then he had a second ability. He's got flying, of course, it was a big old dragon. And then he had sacrifice another creature. Prosh gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So essentially, what you would do with this is you would have, let's see, what do they say here? I haven't actually ever played Prosh, but I know you've played something like Food Chain,
Yo,
which
yep.
is you remove a creature you control from the game, add X mana of any color to your mana pool, where X is the removed creature's converted mana cost, +1. So Food Chain was great with this because you could just keep casting Prosh over and over again, essentially, and you would always at least net 1 mana on top of that. Because when you remove a creature from the game in Commander, it can just go back to the command zone. It doesn't just
Yep.
exile it, right? So it goes back to the command zone, adds the tax to it, and as long as you can keep paying that extra little bit, since Food Chain gives you a +1, and if you have something like Ashnod's Altar, right, that can pay for the extra bits, or the Phyrexian Altar, which does the same thing, just gives you 1 color, you've got all those tokens that you just created, and you keep playing Prosh for more and more mana, making more and more tokens. You play something like Blood Artist or Impact Tremors that, deal damage when they die or deal damage when they come into play, and you just win the game on the spot from there.
Oh, exactly. And luckily, a card like Food Chain is relatively cheaper now. I mean, I'm looking a near mint copy is probably sitting around 18, 19 bucks. I'm seeing on
Uh,
TCG Player, which compared to what it used to be, that's fairly cheap. I remember when I first tried building a Food Chain deck, I steered away from it because I think Food Chain was like $50, and that was
oh
like
yeah.
5 or 6 years
Nowadays you
ago.
can get them fairly cheapish.
So there's one card that I'm looking at here. It's Kinnan Bonder Prodigy from one of the newer sets here. And he's a green blue for a 2/2 human druid. Whenever you tap a non-land permanent for mana, add 1 mana of any type that permanent produced. So I'm
Yeah,
thinking, shit, a card like freaking Soul Ring or Arcane Signet or anything that's a mana rock, you can essentially go infinite mana. I mean, especially with cards like Basalt Monolith,
yeah, that's the big one.
then yeah, I mean, a win condition right there would be Basalt Monolith, Thrasios Titan or Triton Hero, and Thassa's Oracle.
Yep, you're just end the game right then and there. If you wanted to spend a little bit of extra money, you could go Grim Monolith if you had a few
Yep.
extra bucks to spend. But for most of us, since Basalt Monolith just comes in a lot of precons, it's the
Yeah.
best way to go with that. Really, it's insane.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different styles of combo decks that you can play. And if anyone ever has any questions, shoot us a message on Instagram or on our Facebook, and
Absolutely.
I will make sure we get you an answer.
Yep.
If you don't want to search the internet and search Reddit for freaking go down a rabbit hole, but either Jack or myself will sit there and take the time, and we will get your get you an answer.
Very happily. So I
Um,
think to close out, we can just kind of give our final thoughts on the strategy itself. Because, like, I know it's got some stigma to it. Like, I don't think combos, I might be a little biased here, but combos are a very valid strategy to play if the players are upfront about what their opponents are walking into.
Yes.
I think
And
is a good way to handle
kind of,
that.
yeah, kind of piggybacking on that.
Yeah,
If you want to play a combo deck, go for it. I
absolutely.
personally don't give a shit, but just give me a heads up. Unless you're unless you're not playing one of the freaking top combo commanders or a known combo commander, just give me a heads up. Hey, this is a whatever deck. It is a combo deck.
Right. And just be able to so the whole table can kind of meet that level, right? Like if you have, a high tier deck like that, almost borderline CDH, you're playing these big crazy combos. That's your win con, and you can get them out like turn 4. Let the table know so they can be like, oh yeah, I have a thing I can match that, or oh maybe
Yeah,
I don't have a thing that can match that. Can we maybe dial it back a little bit? Because at the end of the
yeah,
day,
because
you want everyone to
I'm
have fun, right?
yeah, because I mean I'm not gonna be a happy camper if you don't say anything and you're not playing like a Mizzix of it is Magnus or another commander like that is known for combos,
Right.
and I roll up with an aggro heavy focus deck,
Or just something that's for fun,
and
like something that you wouldn't say is super high
yeah,
tier, right? Yeah.
like if I show up with just a simple deck that I just want to put out some big creatures, I don't really care too much about my opponent's board state. I'm not going to be too happy if I sit there trying to put out big creatures and all you're doing is freaking comboing off every other turn
Right. Like
and I
turn
can't
3,
do
they just
anything
end the
about
game.
it. But at the end of the day, if you're going to play combo, especially infinite combos, have a talk with your play group.
Yep.
Have a talk with the people you're sitting down to at your LGS. Make sure you're on the same page. There's nothing worse than sitting down with someone and you don't know they're running infinites, and it turns out they're able to end the game on turn 2 or turn 3 even.
Yeah, then it's just like, oh well, okay, let's just go.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I've walked out of game stores because of that,
yeah,
and
especially if that's the only deck they have on them, then that's just
oh,
like you
exactly,
just tell me you don't have anything aside from just this. Oh, I just do this every single game. Come
yeah,
on, buddy, have a little variety.
exactly, and some people just don't like playing against combo decks,
Which is
and
fine. That's valid.
I can fully understand it. Just like some people don't want to have anything to do with playing against a stack
Yep.
stack.
Which hey, tune in
And
next time. That's
oh my god.
foreshadowing.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'll be talking
So
a lot about stacks next episode.
so there we go.
Um
Segue. Next time. Next
segue.
time on the Lotus Archives.
And it's a segue, not one of those things that you ride around because you're not going to see my ass on one of those things.
No.
But
Salty
with
time.
that,
We'll call it salty.
with that, everyone, we appreciate you listening to us and joining us on this lovely adventure.
So great.
And
Fantastic.
again, I am Kava,
I'm Jack.
and we will see you next time.
Take it easy, folks.